connect to where we've left. We are in the middle of a very interesting discussion on the Sanskrit name of the Brahma Vihara and how it is actually immeasurables nowadays. Yes, so why these two names? Because immeasurable does not translate Brahma. And then, as I said, there is one connotation that is possible that Brahma Vihara may refer to this practice as a mundane practice. So if we just develop these four attitudes for the mundane purposes, like just with a wish to attain happiness of the higher realms, then we will be reborn in the God realm, such as Brahma realm. But then Bam also pointed out that this Brahma does not necessarily refer to the Brahma as a god. It can also have a connotation of just being pure. So that's why in many contexts we can see this reference to Brahma, like Brahmacharya, and it actually means the pure conduct, not just the Brahma conduct. But then as to this, what I have added was that probably it is something that predates Buddhism. Like same as Brahmacharya, of course, it is like this kind of conduct predates Buddhism. Same as Brahma Vihara probably predates Buddhism, but I didn't do any research as to that, so I cannot say for sure. So then it was something that was practiced as a means to attain higher rebirth, like God, realm rebirth. But then in the context of Buddhism, it was changed. And it became a method to attain either liberation on the path of the foundational vehicle or omniscience, complete and perfect Buddhahood, on the path of the Mahayana. So that's why it has changed. So it was something and it became something more, as it often happens in the Buddhist context, because the Buddha spoke the language that beings of the place and time could understand. Yes? So he was using certain concepts that those beings knew and could understand, and then he was changing their meaning. And it comes a lot as to karma and many other things. Yes? So the terms are there, but the meaning is not always same. There's much more. So that's why answering your question, Ram, Brahma Vihara is the Sanskrit name by which these four attitudes are known, but in the Buddhist context, they are much more. That's why they usually refer to, especially in Tibetan, as immeasurable practices. Okay, then Ram has disappeared again, so then maybe you just continue.
Yeah. I would like to say that it's interesting how we translate the Sanskrit term Brahmana, because it has many connotations. One of them, of course, is immeasurable, something that you cannot measure. But quite often they translate it into English like limitless, something that doesn't have limits. So it means almost the same: boundless, limitless, and immeasurable. So basically, it means something that you can extend or develop limitlessly, endlessly. That's why they translate it sometimes as limitless or boundless, and it's quite interesting. What does it mean here in this context? What does it mean immeasurable? What's immeasurable? If we talk about, for example, love or compassion, does it mean that the love is immeasurable, or the compassion is immeasurable? And quite often it is explained from 2 points of view. First point is something like you can develop your quality of your mind endlessly, and that's why it's immeasurable. So when your love and compassion and joy and equanimity is developed endlessly, it becomes immeasurable. And at the same time, if we look from the other point of view, if we talk about the object of love or compassion, the object is all of the sentient beings, and they are countless. So this way, the object itself is also immeasurable. So if we look from the 2 points of view, it seems to me that the usual explanation is like that it is immeasurable because you can develop a quality of your mind immeasurably or endlessly, and because the object of the cultivation itself is also immeasurable, and that's why they call it immeasurable. And most probably it's quite more convenient to call it immeasurables because we understand the meaning then. If we use the other name, the other term, Brahma Viharas, then it's a little bit more confusing, a little bit more difficult to explain and to comprehend the meaning. Mhm.
Yeah, I would agree. It's very good what you've pointed out, but probably it's also good to distinguish between the foundational vehicle and the Mahayana context. Unfortunately, today we don't have Giuliano, who usually represents the foundational vehicle view, and both Bem and I we belong to the Mahayana tradition. But as far as I understand, these four immeasurable practices, they belong to common practices. So they practiced in the foundational vehicle as well as in the Mahayana context. And there is a difference as to the perspective, because if you look at them from the Mahayana perspective, there is also one more dimension. Because usually it is said that these four immeasurables, this is how our nature truly is. So our nature is limitless or immeasurable love, limitless or immeasurable compassion, limitless or immeasurable joy, and limitless or immeasurable equanimity. So that's why we are not cultivating something, we are just reopening what is already there. So basically, when we say four immeasurables, it is just a reference to our Buddha nature that is immeasurable, limitless. And these qualities are the actual qualities of our nature. So then we are not cultivating them anew. Yeah, we are just endlessly opening them up. Yeah, and when they are totally opened, this is how they are, immeasurable, limitless. Yep. And then from the foundational vehicle, of course, probably it's not, this perspective is not emphasized there. So it's more like, as you have just said, Ben, that there are these immeasurable dimensions to these practices. So the one you have mentioned, the number of beings is immeasurable. But likewise, these practices lead to the immeasurable accumulation of merit and wisdom. So they also serve as an immeasurable cause of the two accumulations. And also they result in the immeasurable attainment. So if it is liberation in the context of the foundational vehicle or the perfect Buddhahood in the context of Mahayana. So thus we can single out many immeasurable dimensions to these practices. Like the object, as you said, beings are limitless, immeasurable. Likewise, the cause of accumulation is immeasurable. The result that is attained, likewise, immeasurable. So all of it gives us a reason to call them immeasurable practices.
Yeah. What you're talking about is I mean, about the qualities of mind that are opened, that they are lying dormant in our nature of mind, and then you just need to remove the obscurations, and one by one or all at once, you need to open the qualities just to make them appear. Yeah, that's one of the explanations. But it's more like a tantric, or more like connected to the yogacara explanation, because in many other commentaries it is that are not from the fold of the tantra or yogacara. It is said that you need to cultivate this quality. It's like you have the potential, but it's like our muscle, and you need to work on this muscle in order to make it strong. But of course, if you look from the point of the mind itself, from the point of result, of course, if we have this nature that has love and compassion and everything else inside, you do not need to work on it. You just need to open it. Just you need uh, to appear it from the dormant state, or from the nature of the mind. Yeah. In this case, yeah, of course. But it seems to me that the foundational vehicle, they look at it more from the point of view that they just mentioned. It seems to me that they try to cultivate it. But if you look from the other point, yeah, of course, yeah. And what else could be said about the four immeasurables? it's quite interesting that some of the scholars, especially in the Nigma tradition, in the school of the earlier translations, they say that these four immeasurables uh, at the end, I mean, eventually transform into the five pristine wisdoms, or some people translate it as five gnosises, or or just wisdoms. I mean jnanas. They transform into five jnanas, and it's quite interesting because that's what you were talking about. So these wisdoms, these four immeasurables, have the same nature basically as the five wisdoms or five jnanas, and when you become a Buddha, when you obtain Buddhahood, they are transformed, or just become, or open their nature as the nature of the five jnanas. Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. So then Ram suggested as a next question how they are related to bodhicitta, but I would probably suggest that before we go to bodhicitta, we look at the sequence of the four immeasurables, because the way they are listed, yes, so we start from immeasurable love. So what is immeasurable love or loving kindness? This is when we wish that all beings are endowed with happiness and the causes of happiness. And then as we follow the recitation, right, then the second one is immeasurable compassion, when we wish that all beings are free from suffering and the causes of suffering. Then the third one is immeasurable joy, which is we wish that all beings never separate from this happiness that is free from any suffering, or many causes of suffering. And then finally, it's immeasurable equanimity, and immeasurable equanimity can be explained in many ways. Yes, so usually it is said that may they be free from any duality of close and far, yes, or any preferences and any aversions. And in my opinion, the sequence is quite interesting, because when I've heard some teachers explaining the four immeasurables, some of them emphasize that actually we should start with equanimity. We shouldn't start with love, but because equanimity is the key. Only equanimity makes them immeasurable, and equanimity is emphasized. So, in my mind, it's really important. Why? Because when we look at these qualities like love, compassion, joy, all of us have it, right? But the problem is that we have it as partial ones. So we have love, but only to those who love us back. Yeah, those whom we like, we love them. So those whom we dislike, we do not love. Likewise, compassion. We do have compassion. It's a natural quality, but it's always partial. So we only feel compassion towards those whom we think deserve our compassion, right? And so also joy. We have the ability to rejoice, but we only rejoice usually in those whom we like. Yes, so it's very difficult to rejoice in those whom we dislike. So that's why these qualities, they are already there. So it's not that something unfamiliar, something we do not know. But the problem is that we have them in a partial way. And this partial way is dictated by our self-cherishing. So it's always about me, mine, those that belong to me, those I like, etc. And we need to go beyond that. And that's why equanimity is the key. That's why it's like all these things that we already have, but beyond any distinction. All the beings, those we like, those we dislike, those to whom we are neutral, all of them. So this is most difficult. And because if we are asked to develop love to the close ones, it's not a problem usually. And to wish them happiness, to wish them to be free from suffering, it's not a problem. I think animals even have it. But when it comes to this impartiality, this is a problem. Especially for me, it is a big problem. So when I'm contemplating the four immeasurables, it's very easy just to mumble, may all beings be happy and be endowed with causes of happiness. But then when we start thinking, all beings means also those I dislike, those who hurt me, those who hit me, all of it. Yeah. So then it is much more difficult. So that's why this equanimity, in my opinion, is the key. But probably there are also other reasons why we start in this sequence. So what do you think, Ben? Why there is such a sequence in them?
Well, it's quite interesting question because yes, most of the teachers, and it's quite usual. It's quite usual practice to explain that first you need to cultivate, or you need to practice, or you need to meditate on the equanimity. And why it's so? Why is it so? Because this is the basic foundation or basic reason why should I practice anything at all. If I didn't see myself as equal and others as equal to myself, there is no need to practice love and compassion and anything else. Because we do think, because of the self cherishing, as you said, we think that we are better or more important than others. And if I feel myself like that, if I think that only what I need is does count, and what the other people or sentient beings want or would like to have or need, if it's not important for me, then there is no need to practice. There is no way and no reason to practice love and compassion. Because why should I? Why should I love anybody at all except myself or the people I like? Why should I try to make somebody happy and free somebody from the sufferings if this person, from my point of view, doesn't deserve it? If it's not important for me, why should it put any effort into that? And that's when you start to, as it is said in the Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, that's when you start to meditate on the equanimity, and you understand that whatever the aim or whatever the aims and purposes of the sentient beings, their needs and their wishes are of the same value as mine. And as soon as you understand it, it helps to work or to eliminate the self-cherishing in our minds. And that's why in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, the cultivation of bodhicitta starts with the equanimity. So first you need to understand that all the beings and I and others are the same on this in this regard. And that's quite important, and kind of foundation for the practice of love and compassion. And it's interesting when we talk about the two ways of cultivating bodhicitta. There is a sevenfold way of cultivating bodhicitta that starts with the understanding that all of the sentient beings used to be my mother, and etc., and remembering about their kindness and wanting to repay for their kindness. But in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara, Shantideva uses the other method, the equalizing and exchanging self and others. So it seems to me to be more logical, but not as touching as the second method. Because when you start to think about all of the sentient beings, I understand that they used to be your parents, used to be your mothers used to love you and care about you and protect you, even even with the cost of their own life. It touches you more, and it's kind of easier to uh, try to generate or cultivate or as you say, to open up compassion and love. But if you look from the rational point of view, from the intellectual point of view, the explanation of Shantideva is kind of more logical and suits some people more.
Well, it's very interesting because I've never kind of looked at this Atisha's 7 points of cause and effect that you've mentioned, the 7 steps of development bodhicitta, as principally different from the method that Shantideva is describing in Bodhisattva Charya Avatara. Because this, Atisha's way is kind of easier in a sense, yes? So you have this very clear steps that you can just use in the mind training, yeah, contemplation. But this first step, that all sentient beings are my kind mothers, and then this wish to repay their kindness, I think it's same in meaning as this development of taking all beings as being equal to myself. So why all beings are equal? Because they are my kind mothers. So there is no difference in it. Probably just the language is a bit different. Yeah. So like this Magyurtis, kind of all this like sky like mothers, it's more touching. And of course, it appeals to me because it comes through the tradition. It's emphasized in the Tibetan tradition and all. But I think it's basically same. Just probably because Atisha was teaching in Tibet and he emphasized this first step, yeah, that actually all beings are our kind mothers. And in this, they're all same, yeah, like same as me, yeah, even more important than me, because usually mother is considered to be more important than oneself. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of the same, but still, if you start to ask questions about this, about the second tradition, about the sevenfold my generation, then first of all we start to think, okay, if we talk about all of the sentient beings and all of the sentient beings having mother, it's not true. Not all of the sentient beings have mothers. First of all, those who are born in hell, they do not have mothers. Those who are born in the divine abodes, they do not have mothers. Secondly, some of the sentient beings who were born in the realm of animals and human beings, for example, they do have parents, but quite often they do not. For example, if you look at the animals, some of the animals just put eggs and just stop caring about the eggs, and the children or the let's say the children, they just come out of the egg, and basically quite often they do not see it, do not meet their parents. And then there is another question: even if I have parents, even if I have a mother, not all of the mother are the same, because some of the mother could be quite awful. And for example, if I do not have a loving and kind mother in this life, how do I practice it? And then they start. There is a tradition of explanation that, for example, if you do not have a mother in this life, or if your mother of this life was not good to you, then you need to imagine, or you need to remember about a person who was the most kind person in your life. I mean, in this life. You see, if you start to scrutinize this way of generating bodhicitta, then it needs a lot of explanation. And with the Shantideva, Shantideva's way of generating bodhicitta, it's a little bit different. And then Shantideva even goes further. He says that first of all, we understand that all of us are equal. We are no different. We are no different, and then my wishes are of the same value of the wishes of the others. Then why I should think that I am more important, or my needs are more important than the needs of the other sentient beings? Secondly, if we look at the importance of wishes and needs of a single person and of a society, of course the needs and wishes of the society are more important because they are many, and the single person is just one person. And then of course we understand, and Shantideva says about this beautifully, that when we make the human beings, the sentient beings happy, they make happy all of the Buddhists, because Buddhists appear from the sentient beings, the same sentient beings who practice. Eventually they obtain the Buddhahood. And this way, when we make somebody happy, we also make happy the Buddhists. And the sentient beings are the only way, or the only means, or the only source of the Buddhahood. Because if we do not have the sentient beings, we wouldn't have the Buddhahood, because we would not have any object to practice like dana paramita or shila paramita or uh, any parameter at all. And this way, it seems to me that just for me personal, it seems to me that it's kind of mm, easier to practice the way that was explained by Shantideva, though the sevenfold procedure of generating the bodhicitta that was taught by in Kadam tradition is also good, but it's just a question of the personal preference. Who likes more what? Mhm.
Yeah, definitely. But I was also thinking while you were explaining why in this four immeasurables love is coming first. Because in other contexts, usually we have compassion and love and kindness, not love and kindness and compassion. But here we have love as coming first. Yeah? So I was thinking actually, why do we have love as the first one? And probably it has some meaning, because when I look at these four immeasurables, then they have very personal touch to them. Yeah? Because what is immediate result when we bring them to mind? Mind becomes undisturbed, and as you have also already mentioned today, open. Yeah, so it just opens our mind and calms it down. So the mind becomes open, peaceful, undisturbed. And when we look at love and kindness and compassion, from the ordinary perspective, they're basically same thing. Yeah, so it's just like two sides of the same coin. Because if you say that love and kindness is a wish to make all beings happy, and the compassion is a wish to free them all from suffering, it is basically the same thing, right? So when they're free from suffering, this is what makes them happy. But then, why love is first? I think this is because love and kindness has this very good quality of softness and openness. So if we start from love and kindness, then our mind already becomes prepared already for compassion. Even if we practice on the ordinary level, compassion is dualistic, love and kindness is dualistic. Yes, so we speak about compassion that takes beings as an object. We do not go any further, because of course, if you go further to compassion that takes phenomena as an object or referenceless compassion, then it's a different story. But on the ordinary level of a dualistic practice, I think love has a point that is, it has the strong ability to open up and to soften. So that's why in this context of the four immeasurables, it comes first, then compassion comes second. And then joy comes third, and equanimity is fourth, because equanimity is the most difficult one. So basically, equanimity is something that should be worked at. Yeah? So that's why usually if you look at the instructions how to practice them, but then there are very specific things that we advise to do. So all the beings have been divided into 9 categories. So what are the 9? So those you like, dislike, and those who are neutral, and then each of them has 3 more categories. Those who strongly dislike, just not very strongly dislike, and like so. And each of them has 3 categories in them. And then we move from the easiest to the most difficult. So that what has just been explained as to this relation to beings as mothers, it is usually presented as an example, easiest example of a being towards whom we can generate love and kindness and compassion. But of course, as Bem rightly said, it's not necessarily always so, yeah, because karma varies, and some people may have a very negative experience with one's mother. Yeah? But usually it is just an example of motherly love, which is altruistic. Yeah, so mother like loves her kids without holding back, without anything, expecting anything in return. At least this is the ideal how it is presented. Of course, we know in the real life it is not like that, and parents always expect things back from children. But maybe when it comes to the small child, like someone who is very vulnerable, then mother's love is pure. Yeah? At least this is how it is presented from ordinary perspective. So if you look at the dualistic love, the most pure one is the love of the mother towards her child or her cub, yeah, at any level, animal level or human level. So I think there is something behind this idea, even if you can rationalize it and say, yeah, of course, it's just the nature of, continuing the line, etc., etc. proliferation, etc. But at least it makes sense to most beings, so it is used as an example. So then we move from this easiest example to the most difficult, and we end with the worst of enemies. So the enemy whom we hate the most. And this is how it is cultivated step by step, starting from love, then compassion, joy, and then finally equanimity. So that's why it's not just some abstract things. It's very practical means, very practical method of cultivation that leads us to bodhicitta. So that's why it is said that the four immeasurables are the source or foundations of the bodhicitta in intention. So the bodhicitta of intention is based on the four immeasurables. So basically, four immeasurables are the bodhicitta in intention, in a sense. Yeah, and because okay, but maybe first I ask them, how do you think the four immeasurables correlate with bodhicitta, and then express my ideas as to that.
Yeah. It's it's quite interesting. First of all, I would like to say that about the mother. I thought about it for some time before. Now you see, there are many examples that couldn't be used in this kind, in this regard. For example, if you take animals, many animals, I mean, like tigers and dogs and etc., when they have unfavorable conditions, they just eat up their own children. I mean, they eat up their own issue. That's happens quite often in the animal realm. And if the food is scarce, and if the animals they cannot obtain enough food, or for example, if an lion pride, new lion comes into the pride, then the mother would eat up her own cubs. And it was observed many times by the scientists. And even in the human realm, quite often it happens, and in many places that own parents would sell their children. It happens nowadays when the own parents of the children do very very bad things on their own children. That's why I'm saying that in some cases, for some people it would be hard to use this method. I do think so, and I think that it happens in some cases. Nevertheless, turning to the second part, what you were saying about why the order of the four immeasurables is like that, why the love comes first, why the karuna, the compassion, the compassion comes first, the love comes second,
Love
and the
comes
joy.
first, actually. If you look at the sequence of recitation, love comes first, no? Semchin Tanshin Deva Dan Deva Gyudan Deva Gyurchik, it comes first.
Oh
No?
yeah, okay. uh oh yeah, it's interesting. Well, I think that it could be somehow. I always thought that the compassion comes first. But yeah, you're right. Yes. Oh, that's interesting. Because I was preparing my answer basing on the compassion coming fast, compassion coming first, and I would think about the four noble truth. Because in the four noble truth, the first is the suffering, and Buddha said that you need to know, you need to learn the nature of the suffering. And it would agree very nice with the compassion coming first. But you're right, it's not the first. Anyway, I do think that it could be also be related in a way, because before you try to cultivate love or compassion, you need to understand the suffering. Otherwise, it would be useless to cultivate anything at all if you do not understand that a person or a sentient being is suffering. Because many people in this world, and I know some who say, why should I do something? I'm happy. I'm quite fine. I have whatever I need, and there is no need for me to try to better my situation. Why do I need to do something else? I feel myself good, and they do not see any reason to try to practice something or to do something. And even they, when they experience some suffering, they do not understand that this is the nature. They think that well, basically, or most of the time I'm happy, and just sometimes I feel something unpleasant, and it's okay. It's okay. I can manage. But most of the time I feel myself happy, and they do not try to see that whatever we experience, it's in reality, most of it or all of it is this or that way to suffer in our human life. And if there is a lack of this kind of understanding, then there is no way that a person could practice love, compassion, and equanimity. And this is talking about the compassion. So we need to understand that we suffer, and all of the sentient beings suffer, and they would like to be free of suffering. And the immeasurable love would come beautifully into understanding the third of the four truth, the understanding that you could obtain some kind of uh, uh, state without suffering. Because in many spiritual and not so spiritual traditions in this world, people think that after they die, nothing happens. You just disappear. And there is no need then to practice any compassion or anything else, and especially so about bodhicitta. Because if you strive to become a Buddha for the sake of all of the sentient beings, and after we die, there is nothing, and you are not able to do it in this life. And if you can obtain the Buddhahood in this life, it's useless. Because even if you become Buddha tomorrow, if you die and everything disappears, there is no need to do anything at all. Just, just, just be happy, kill everybody like that.
Yeah, but this brings me back to what I just mentioned, that the reason why this four are practiced cannot be only transcendental. Yes, so they're not only about Buddhahood, but they also can be just done for some kind of helping the state of mind in the everyday basis. Yes, so of course, Buddhist practice, Dharma practice is meant for Buddhahood. So when it is simplified to just mundane purposes, then it is just a loss. Yeah? Like Dzongsa Khyentse Rinpoche said, it is just like if you drive a Ferrari in Kathmandu. Yeah, like of course you can drive a Ferrari in Kathmandu.
Can you?
But
Can you
kinda,
drive
yeah.
Ferrari?
I mean, Ferrari has wheels and you can drive it, but with which speed you can drive it, like 15
Okay.
kilometers per hour. Yes, so it's like a waste. It's a waste to drive Ferrari in Kathmandu. In the same logic, it is a waste to practice the Dharma just for the happiness of this or next life. But nevertheless, the practice of the four immeasurable is very productive, and that's why we are doing it the first thing in the morning. It sets the attitude and intention for the whole day. Yeah, because it is said that if we generate bodhicitta in the morning, then whatever we do during the day becomes virtuous. And the four immeasurables usually are recited before we recite the verse of bodhicitta. Sometimes when it is just a verse which is joined with refuge, then it comes second. But nevertheless, they're always together. And it is something that's very important. Yeah? So it sets the mind. Yeah? So it sets the attitude of the mind. And that's why I think it's also important to remember that dharma is always virtuous. So it's virtuous in all the dimensions. Of course, it leads to Buddhahood, but even if someone doesn't have the perspective of Buddhahood, and I also meet quite a lot of students like this who come to study at RY, they tell me, I don't believe in future lives. So what you're talking about in the Bodhisattva Charyavatara, yes, it makes sense, but it doesn't matter because I don't believe in future life. Yeah. So then, if there is no perspective of rebirth, then actually it's quite pointless. As you rightly say, Bam, why should we develop compassion? What's the point? Usually it just deprives us of success in this life, right? So if you wish others to be happy, it goes against the logic of this world, right? Because the logic of the world is based on self-cherishing, fighting with others, making your way, yeah, going beyond everyone else. So then, if we live with the four immeasurables, it will make us social losers. That's why people don't understand why we should do it, right? But then, if you look at the state of mind, then how is our mind when we compete? How is our mind when we want to overcome someone, someone to disappear, someone, to be unhappy? Our mind is disturbed. Our mind is unhappy. So basically, I do believe, and it's what I see from experience, that afflictions, the main reason why they call afflictions, because they disturb our mind. We cannot be happy when we are afflicted. And the opposite is true. What is virtuous state of mind? This is the mind that is undisturbed. This is the mind that is peaceful. This is the mind that is happy. And it makes sense. So, from this perspective, of course, society tells us that you need to compete, you need to be better than all the others, protect yourself, protect your family, fight for this, yeah, and fight your enemies. But does it make us happy? Actually, if you look at it, it does not, right? So then, if you just consider it, the four immeasurables make perfect sense. Even if you do not have the perspective of Buddhahood, just if you think about this life, they make sense, because this is what brings happiness and peace to our mind in this very life. Yeah? So that's why Dharma is perfect in every dimension. Yeah? I was just wanted to kind of point it out to what you have said, that if you don't have perspective of Buddhahood, then these four are kind of useless.
Yeah, yeah. In India, there used to be, and if I'm not mistaken, there is still this school of the philosophical thought, Charvakas, and that's what they say. They said, as many Romans did, that after this life there is nothing. You just die and disappear, and your body start to decompose, and then just vanishes, and you become soil. So, from their point of view, yes, any spiritual path or any spiritual practice would be useless, because we have this very short amount of time, and they said that you need just enjoy yourself, do whatever pleases you, have all of the pleasures that you can obtain, and there is no use to practice anything at all and feel. mm and try to cultivate anything towards uh, the other beings. And yes, it seems to me that probably they would not be so worried about the obscurations or negative emotions, because there is nothing. Oh, there is not. There is nothing after this life. And but if we look from the Buddhist perspective, or from the perspective of the world society of our world, then yes, everybody would like to be happy. And in order to be happy, it's quite basic for sentient beings. To be happy means not to be worried and not to have fear, because if we have this fear and we have this kind of worries, what will happen to me next time, and what people who live next to me, what will happen if the people who live next to me can do to me, and etc. It disturbs the peace of mind quite a lot. And one of the best ways to remove this kind of fear, or to stop worry about this, try to generate sincere love and compassion toward the beings, toward the people. Let's say people, because it's more practical. It's more practical in our context, because of course we see animals, but most of us didn't see gods and semi-gods and pretas and etc. So if we talk in this immediate context, if we try to practice love and compassion to those who are around us, we will see them as likable, we will see them as friends, and we will not be as much worried about them. And it's quite interesting. Whenever you feel friendly, or you feel kindness and do kindly upon others start to do the same to you. It's quite often so. And if instead you are aggressive to a person, then of course the other person would also be aggressive towards you. So this is, yeah, you're completely right. This is very good way to begin your day, and very good way to practice. Because if you try to be nice to people, the probability that people will be nice to you in return is quite higher than if you try to be aggressive and violent to the people who are around you.
Yeah, definitely. So then I guess we still have just half an hour left. Then maybe we move to this connection between the four immeasurables and bodhicitta. What do you
Yeah,
think?
sure. Yeah, sure.
Because definitely there is a connection, but once again we miss Giuliano, and he would say there is no connection in the foundational vehicle. There is no such a concept. I mean, there is a concept of bodhicitta as a wish for Buddhahood, yeah, but it is not how we define it in the Mahayana, because usually they said that it has two wings: the wing of wisdom, and the wing of compassion. So a wish to attain enlightenment or Buddhahood is the wing of our aspect of wisdom, and then a wish to benefit all beings is the aspect of compassion. So then if you look at the four immeasurables, then of course they correlate with this aspect of compassion, but also in a sense with the aspect of wisdom. Yeah, of course, in this case, we don't speak about primordial wisdom, the one you called gnosis. What else you called it? So jnana in any way. So it doesn't correlate with this because it is beyond ordinary intellect, but just in its ordinary dimension is just understanding what is to be taken up, what is to be abandoned. Of course, it is there as well. So then if you look at the four immeasurables and bodhicitta, and it is interesting that bodhicitta is often simplified as just compassion. This wisdom aspect is left out. Yeah? It is especially the problem in the West, I think. Yeah, so like because I think people often even say, yeah, oh yeah, compassion makes sense to me. I understand what is compassion. But if you speak about wisdom, about shunyata, emptiness, all of it, it doesn't make sense to me. I cannot relate to it. And also Buddhahood is somewhere very far away. So like as you have just rightly said, people don't have perspective of Buddhahood. So then compassion, this is what speaks to them. And that's why bodhicitta is often simplified as just compassion. But of course, it is beyond that. It's just one part of bodhicitta. Wisdom should be there. Without wisdom, it's quite pointless, right? Because then, you know, how we can make beings happy, free from suffering, if we do not attain Buddhahood ourselves. We want to attain Buddhahood in order to benefit beings, because now we are incapable to do it. So it's the main reason. So only then it makes sense. So that's why I think bodhicitta, we can say that bodhicitta of intention is based on the four immeasurables and its compassion aspect, but it's gone beyond that, because it also has wisdom aspect. I wish to attain Buddhahood. Of course, compassion is most important, because if you ask why we want to attain Buddhahood, in order to benefit beings, because now we are not capable to do it. But still, we shouldn't forget that bodhicitta has two aspects, and wisdom is there, and shunyata is there. Without it, compassion doesn't make much sense. So this is what I'd like to start the discussion on the four immeasurables and bodhicitta with. So what do you think? Yeah. Then,
Oh, it's quite interesting because even in the Mahayana treatises, it is said that the Shavakas and Pratikabuddhas, they also have bodhicitta, but they have different bodhicitta. They do not strive to obtain Buddhahood; they strive to obtain their own arhathood. So Pratikabuddhists would like to become Pratikabuddhas, but all of them also have bodhi. They have their own awakening or enlightenment, and it's interesting because I used to think until some time in the past that only the Mahayana practitioners have this, and only on Bodhisattva have this bodhicitta. But one of our teachers said that it's not true. That Pratika Buddhists and Shravakas also have bodhicitta, but it's different. They strive for different goal. But anyway, yeah, you're completely right. That especially in the West, people interchange. They mix up these two ideas of the compassion and bodhicitta, but they are quite different. Compassion is the foundation for the bodhicitta. It's not bodhicitta itself. So one is like seed, and the other is like result. So their cause and result, they are different. But still, it's very interesting because if you just think that, oh, how would be good if all of the sentient beings could be free from suffering, and if you do not have a way to free them from suffering, it's kind of silly. Of course, it's empathy. Of course, we can feel what the sentient beings feel, and we can feel the suffering because we ourselves have the same experience. We experience suffering, and then that's how we can feel empathy to the sentient beings. But from the practical point of view, if you do not know the way to liberate, or do not have this understanding that it's possible to liberate the sentient beings from the suffering, and just thinking that, oh, it would be so good if all of the sentient beings could be free from suffering, it's not of much use. And that's why in Mahayana we didn't stop on the love and compassion. We tried to develop or try to practice bodhicitta, the sincere and non-artificial wish or strive to become a Buddha for the sake of all of the sentient beings. And yeah, you're completely right. If we talk about the two bodhicittas, about the conventional bodhicitta and ultimate bodhicitta, then of course they personificate, or they symbolize the two aspects of the path, the wisdom and the method. And as it is said in the Madhyamaka Avatara, without the two wings, the bird cannot fly to the other shore of the samsaric ocean. So of course, if you want to become a Buddha, you need both of these aspects. Yeah.
yeah, definitely. And then also maybe we shouldn't forget that bodhicitta has this very practical aspect of engagement in the form of the six paramitas: generosity, discipline, patience, diligence, meditative concentration, and finally wisdom. And this is what makes the bodhicitta actually acting. Yeah? So then when I look at the four immeasurables, yeah, they are great, but they lack this practical aspect. Okay, I'm sane and mentally I'm engaged in the wish to make all beings happy, free from suffering, etc. But what do I actually do? So bodhicitta gives a very clear answer to this. So what you actually do, you practice the six paramitas. So this is what you do, and this is how you reach the goal of Buddhahood, and this is how you will be able to benefit all beings. So this is what presents the Bodhisattva path. Very precise, very simple, very clear. So just what you do this. And in this sense, the four immeasurables, they're good as intention, yeah, like mind training, a way to purify mind, open the mind, and develop the right attitude in the mind, but they lack this practical engagement part that bodhicitta always has. like a wish to go, an actual go, and as Shantideva puts it, they're inseparable. So it's not enough just to wish. Yeah? It's like, I wish you not to be hungry. Yeah, very good, but just give me food. Yeah. So something practical should be done there. And for this also Bodhicitta excels for immeasurables, because it is also a practical engagement. But intention should come first, yeah, because before going, we need to know where we are going. And for this, intention should be very clear. So understanding what we are doing, not, of course, we should also have a view, but for ordinary beings, it's difficult. We do not have the view of emptiness, and then everything just becomes a dualistic practice. Sometimes it is even harmful. It brings more harm than benefit. But it is said that if you have intention of bodhicitta, then whatever we do becomes beneficial. And so it's such a power of bodhicitta. Then I personally, militant Mahayanist, I believe in that. So why not? But of course, others may argue. And so then, how a paramita of generosity on an ordinary level is just different from any Christian practice of helping others? Probably not, yeah, but on how it manifests. But if intention of the wish to attain Buddhahood in order to benefit all beings is there, then it is superior. And it becomes a means for attaining Buddhahood, while just ordinary charity is not. Because ordinary charity cannot help much. Yet today you give someone food, in 1 hour they're hungry again. So, but if it is endowed with the wish to bring them to enlightenment, Buddhahood, then it is different. It's superior. So that's why I think intention and engagement both should be there in their completeness and their purity. And this is what makes Bodhicitta so beautiful and inspiring, at least to me.
It's quite interesting how Dalai Lama explains the bodhicitta and the renunciation. He said that when we strive to become Buddhists for the sake of all of the sentient beings, it's bodhicitta. And if we strive to become a Buddha for our own sake, for our own benefit, it's renunciation. Because otherwise, if we do not, Dalai Lama quite often says so that if turn towards yourself, that's the way for the renunciation. Because if you do not love yourself, probably you are not quite able to purely, sincerely love others. And if you do not have this wish for the happiness of your own self, probably you would not be able to understand how to make the others happy. Because if you do not know what the happiness is, then it's quite dangerous to try to make others happy. And it was kind of mm, something very interesting and very amazing. I could say when Dalai Lama said that the same intention, same strive turn to others is bodhicitta. But you also, though it's not emphasized in the Mahayana Buddhist practice, but you also, as it is said, uh, uh, at the same time, you also obtain your own benefit when you become a Buddha, and it's there is no way to deny it. If you say that I obtain Buddhahood and I'm very very unhappy, I suffer all the time, but I'm gonna make everybody happy. It seems to me it doesn't work. And about the love, it's so interesting. Usually when we say love in this world, mundane love, it is explained that this mundane love, for example, between one person and another person, let's say, for example, like male and female, this love, it is said that it's stained with the desire, with the passion. And in order for this kind of love, of the mundane love, to appear, you need to see the object as physically or in some other way attractive. Otherwise, the passion would not appear. And when we talk about the love in Buddhist context, in Buddhist understanding, it's not stained by this mundane passion. So, for example, as it was explained by one of the people I know, one of the teachers I know, he said something like, for example, look at the small boy, look at his son. When he grows up, his mother becomes old and bent lady with the gray hair, and sometimes it even could be toothless completely. And of course, this person doesn't look attractive anymore in in our usual way. I mean, like in physical way. But for this boy, for this son, it's still the most beautiful lady in the world, the most beautiful woman in the world. And why it happens so? Because it is not staying with the passion, with the desire, because it's different kind of love. And it was so good. I mean, the explanation was so good that I liked it very much. I'm not sure is it correct in all regards, but if you look at from the practical point of view, then yes, it's quite good. Seems to be quite good.
I was quite like thinking what you have just said about what His Holiness Dalai Lama is saying, that this need for self-love on the first hand, yeah, and then only you can expand to others. And the self-love idea, it's emphasized a lot these days, yeah, especially in the West, that we need first of all to learn to love ourselves. But then actually, if you look at the scriptures, like Shantidev is in the air, he said very clearly, yeah, the wish for one's own happiness leads to suffering. Yeah, this is the source of all the suffering. But the wish to make others happy, this is what leads to happiness. So then I was thinking, where is this borderline between this self-love and appreciation, and until which point it becomes harmful? Because of course, probably, the self-love as well as ordinary love, it can be selfless in a sense, like it can be unstained by desire, but at least by some extreme desire, because of course we are beings of the desire realm. So then how we can be free from desire? This is just the stain we are born with. So until quite high in the bodhisattva levels we have it, right? So then mm, does it mean that any relationship is impossible, and does it mean that self-love always leads to suffering? Especially if you mention that His Holiness Dalai Lama also speaks about it, it makes me wonder, probably he means something else than just ordinary is emphasized everywhere.
No,
Love
no, no. Of
yourself,
course,
take
of
care for
course.
yourself.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Of course, he is not talking about the self love that is talked about in the West. Oh,
So then,
love
what
yourself.
does
You're
he
so
mean? Yeah?
good. You're so special. You're like, no, of course, it's not so. Because for those who practice the Shravakayana and Pratyekabuddha yana, the ways of the Pratyekabuddhas and Shravakas, they need to want to liberate themselves from the samsara. Otherwise, if they do not have this want, this need, this urge to liberate themselves, there is no way they can do it. And what they want their own benefit in the way of arhathood. And this is self-love, what Dalai Lama talks about. He is not saying that, oh, you should cherish yourself, take care about yourself. No. If you want to liberate yourself, you need to understand the suffering. You need to understand the ways to remove the suffering, and you need to understand the sources of suffering. And otherwise, you cannot do good unto your own self. That's what he's saying. That's what he's talking about, and that's why it's renunciation. If you want absolute good for yourself, you need to liberate yourself from suffering. And if you do not understand this, what can you do to the others? If you do not understand what suffering are, where they come from, how to eliminate them, and what to do for that. If you do not like this way, if you do not love yourself, if you do not understand that you are suffering now, and there is a way to liberate yourself from suffering, and then you understand that the same way I can liberate myself, I can liberate the others too. That's when the second part, the second aspect that Dalai Lama says or talks about comes, that you also could the same way it's possible to do for you, you can do towards the all of the sentient beings. It's of course it's not what it's not what they say in the it would be funny if Dalai Lama would say, oh, you need to love yourself.
Yeah, love yourself. If you don't
Yeah,
love yourself, you cannot love others. Yes. So basically, what His Holiness means is very different. So he means the urgence of liberation. Yeah? So it is quite the opposite to self-cherishing, because yes, self-cherishing just keeps us in samsara. But here, what you want is to get liberated. Yeah? So it's very interesting perspective of what is the true self-love. Yeah? Quite different from what is popular, how it is presented. Yeah, in a popular way.
yeah. And about the desire, yeah, of course, we have this aspiration present in our mind, and while being a being from the desire realm, if of course it's not possible, but at the same time, we cannot say that the love of son towards his own mother or love of daughter to her own mother is the same as the love between male and female. I didn't think that it's the same and it's equal. There must be some difference. And when we talk about that difference, most probably is the aspect of the physical, or should we say physical passion and desire. Because if otherwise everything is stained. I mean, our everyday vision, our human world is stained with the passion, stained with the desire, and then it would be the same. The same way I love my wife, I love my mother, but it's it's not true. It's not so. We are not talking about Freud now, because for
Yeah, I
Freud
mean,
probably
yeah,
it
but
was different.
attachment, but wouldn't you agree that attachment is, I don't see any difference. You know, you're attached to someone you love, and you're attached, you know, how you attach to your partner, you're attached to your mother. Attachment is still same, no? It what causes.
Actually,
I
Mhm.
yeah, I think I agree with Dr. Maria here. I think there are two aspects, right, from what Bem said and what you said. One is the attachment, which I agree it's the same, but then the difference might be the passion or the types of passion. I think that's Bem is referring to. I don't know how exactly this applies to the Dharma practice. When we, I mean, one is lustful, one is not lustful. Okay, one is full of desire. Actually, both are full of desires. We want good for our mother. We don't want our mother to get sick, nor is our husband, wife, girlfriend, or loved ones. So I'm not sure where do you draw the line. Maybe Bim can tell us.
And also, please
now
think,
look.
Bam, about one example you already brought in. And what about these two people who are already old? Probably there is no
Now,
erotic desire
uh,
involved, right? But
now,
they still love.
if we talk this way, so the son loved towards his mother is kind of attachment. Yes.
I think so. Why not? Because if they separated, it is painful. If it is painful when they separate, it means there is attachment, in my opinion.
So it means that the mother has the same attachment to her son.
Definitely, because a mother is always selective. She doesn't love all the children in the same way. She only loves one
Okay,
child.
okay. So, is if mother doesn't have this attachment, then she will not love her son.
I think it depends, but I would say no, because what is attachment? You don't want to be separated from him or her, right? This is attachment.
So, basically, what you say is that if we obtain a state where we do not have this mundane or say sensoric attachments, we will not love beings.
But then it's only, referenceless love of the Buddha who doesn't differentiate the objects, right? It's just spontaneous and natural. But ordinary beings, they don't have it. There is always an object towards which this love is directed, right?
Yeah,
Then
yeah. Then
Perhaps just the
what's then
equanimity
what's
aspect.
used then what's used to try to remember about all of the ancient beings who used to be my mothers and how they were very kind to me and how they cherished and cared about me. It's all just attachment.
no, it's, I have already mentioned that among all the attachment, this one is the best attachment. Yeah, the most altruistic attachment is the
Oh,
attachment of
just
a
second.
mother.
Wait a second. So now we will
It's,
sort the
it's the
attachment by the
best
grade,
of the worst.
by the kinds. This attachment is good. This attachment is bad.
No, I don't say it
Attachment.
is good. No, it is always bad. Yeah, but some is better than the other. So the attachment mother has to a child is better in some sense, yeah, than some other types of attachments. You can differentiate between attachments and their harmful aspects. Why it is a problem? Attachment to alcohol is more harmful than attachment to cigarettes. Attachment to
Oh
one's
no,
child.
no, 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 no. It
What's the
depends. It
difference?
depends.
What's the
It
difference? There
depends.
is still
It
attachment.
just
The nature is
just
same.
it's just the different object. It's not better or worse. It's different object.
So then,
If I drink a lot, and if I do not kill people while being drunk, and if I smoke a lot and do not kill people while smoking, seems to me no difference at all.
I
If
didn't
you
get it.
if you
Will you repeat?
well, it's not the point. Let's not go deeper into being attached
No,
to
but
alcohol and
yes, what
anything
I'm
else.
trying to say, the mother's love is also attachment because it is dualistic. If it was pure love, it would be indifferentiable. Mother would just love all the children, but it's not the case. She loves only her children. So there is attachment. You cannot say that mother love is pure, but it is altruistic. Yes, so there is this example when mother disregards her own life to provide food for the child to save the life of the child. Yeah, but you can say it is an instinct, yeah, because in this way, mother just gives herself, to the child. Mother often can die without food and provide for the child. It is not uncommon, yeah. But
Yeah, yeah,
that's
that's
why
what I
it's
said.
most altruistic. But it
That's
doesn't
what
mean that there is no attachment.
Yeah, that's what I said. That it's different. It's a little bit different. So when we talk about the love, that's what we call in the world love between, for example, male and female, and love between the son and mother, for example. It's a bit different. That's what I was saying. Is it attachment? Yes, of course it is attachment. It is attachment, but it's a kind of different attachment now. It's not the same. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying. That when we talk about this kind of love, of course you said that it's attachment. Yes, it is attached, but it's a bit different. It's a bit different. It's not the same like between the males and females, etc. That's what I was saying. And in this regard, it's uh, could I say that it's pure? No, probably, but it's a little bit different, and that's why it could serve as a foundation for a cultivation. Say, for example, For example, what we talk about right now about the foundation for the cultivation of bodhicitta. Yeah, and the point I wanted to pointed to put is it's not, of course it's an attachment, it's stayed with the attachment, but still it's not the same to talk that love between the son and mother and between like man and women is the same.
I think it depends, yeah, because if you look at the couples who are aged, this aspect of lust and sexual desire is not there, but there is still respect and care. Then what's the difference with the love of a son towards the mother? Yeah, I personally don't really see much of difference. Of course, you emphasize this aspect of romantic desire, yeah, like, but I mean, it can be present or not present, but it doesn't mean that love and care is not there, right? So then, but of course, it's some different topic. Probably we can discuss
Yeah.
it
It's
some
a
other time.
different topic. It seems to me that it must be there must be an aspect. There must be a touch of selfless love. There must be this kind of readiness to sacrifice something for another person, even if it's of immediate harm to your own self. In many relationships, it seems to me that it doesn't happen. But let's not go into the relationships and etc. Let's say that in this way, that's what we call the love between, for example, mother and her child. This is the ability to sacrifice something, first of all, and secondly to do whatever is necessary for the other being. And in this concrete moment, in this concrete example, that's a son. Because in many other regards, I mean, uh, in many instances of what we call love in this world, it seems to me that it's not always the same. That's why in the scriptures they bring this example of the love of mother to her child. Otherwise, they could have used many other examples. Imagine like the love between an elderly couple that they do not have this romantic relationship anymore. They still have pure life. It's too complicated and maybe not so common. That's why they used the motherly love in the scriptures.
And
Otherwise, yeah.
okay, so I think probably we should sum it up. Ram has disappeared again, but it's already 1 hour and a half. So what do you think? We call it
Probably, yeah.
the session, right? So
Uh,
then, yeah.
uh, I had just another one thing. So, what do you think if we talk about the four immeasurable ones? Do we have wisdom inside of them? I mean, among them. If we talk
Wisdom,
about the
you
love,
said.
yes, love, compassion, joy, and equanimity. Do we have the wisdom inside?
Yeah.
I mean,
Mhm.
among four of them.
I think definitely if you look at them from the perspective of immeasurability, yes, so wisdom is there because otherwise, how they can be immeasurable? What does it mean immeasurable? In my understanding, immeasurable would mean empty in nature, right? So, like realization of this
Oh,
immeasurability
if you,
would imply a realization of emptiness, shunyata. Otherwise, immeasurability is just a concept. Yeah? So I would
yeah,
say
if you,
yes, definitely it is there, present. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense. You know, then why we would even try to bring all the beings who are limitless to happiness? Yeah, if the number is limitless, then what's the point? It is impossible, right? But emptiness and wisdom of Shunyata is always there because beings are not truly existent, and then there is no truly existent suffering, like because there is no truly existent happiness. So, from the perspective of wisdom, it is definitely possible and makes sense because they're not truly existent, right? And that's why we can inspire for this.
it's
And this
quite
is how,
interesting. It's quite interesting because it would be so logical to say put the fifth one, immeasurable wisdom. It's quite interesting that they didn't put it inside. I mean, they didn't count the wisdom like separately from the four immeasurables. I think there must be some reason why they didn't, because it would be so straightforward. I mean, so logical to say like immeasurable love, immeasurable compassion and joy and equanimity, and then immeasurable wisdom, but they didn't. Anyway.
Okay, so should we say thank you? It was a pleasure talking to you, Ben, which is very rare. Yeah, and so thank you for the session. It was very interesting to me. So thanks a lot.
Thank you to you, and thank you to Ram, who appears and disappears because he doesn't have the true existence. And let's do the dedication.
Yes, please do, because we will do same dedication. So just you please do, Aja.
Just a second. What about the four great vows? Could you recite them?
Okay. The four great vows. Sentient beings are numberless. We vow to save them all. Delusions are endless. We vow to cut through them all. The teachings are infinite. We vow to learn them all. The Buddha way is inconceivable. We vow to attain it. May all beings be well, happy, and safe.
So shall we say the prayer, the dedication,
Yes,
the usual one?
please. Yes, kuchi, please.
Jamba babo ajida kemba dam kondo sambo koya shende deda kenge trazo daluj geba deda tanjera tongo. I'm sorry, I was confused.
It's okay.
When I do it myself, I do it well.
It was
Okay.
perfect. Okay, thank you.
It was very nice talking to you, and thank you very much. And you're right. It happens quite rare between us. That it was so nice to see you, so nice talking to you, and I hope to see you in the future.
Yes, me too. All the best. Bye bye, everyone. Thank
Bye
you,
bye.
Ray. Thank you, Ram.
Thank you.
Bye.